I'm here with Milton MP Lisa Raitt. Now, Lisa, I'll get right down to it.
Yeah.
This campaign had a lot of animosity between you and your Liberal rival. Can you tell me about that?
You know, we only had 2 debates in the entire election campaign, 79 days. So the times at which the candidates came in direct contact with one another were really few and far between, which is unfortunate. I think there was 1 or 2 events that we were able to all be at the same place with. There was no acrimony amongst the candidates. We all did get along. I think what you may have heard about in the community is some difficulties between campaigns, and not necessarily between the campaigns, but certain tactics that certain campaigns used. I try to stay away from all that stuff. My goal is to go to as many doors as possible. And in fact, the rule in our office is that I'm not really told much of anything about how the campaign is going. You know, Azim and I always got along in the past, even though we were rivals, and we got along on the campaign as well. I didn't have any difficulties at all. But the conservative/liberal fight in this part of the world was a lot more, I would say, intense than it's been in the past, and a lot more opinionated. But those were people from the outside, not necessarily those in the inner circle or the candidates in the campaign.
It was a big win for the Liberals this year. Why do you think you won?
So across the country, all of my colleagues heard the same thing, that they may like the local candidate and they may like the principles of the Conservative Party, but they wanted a change in leadership at the top. And, you know, that's a fair comment. And I got that in Milton an awful lot. In fact, at a lot of doors. And you can take a look. I got less vote this time than I did last time, even though I still won. I received 45% of the vote. Azim got about 40% of the vote. It was a lot further apart last time with two different leaders. They say in politics that a lot of your vote is the leader, and that the local candidate only means about 10% of the vote. What I did in the community was I just tried to make sure that I stayed relevant to what Milton is, and luckily I am a stereotypical Miltonian with kids in hockey and soccer, and trying to make ends meet and working as cleverly as I can to ensure I have time for my family and my kids. And I had the benefit as well of being immersed in the hockey culture here and in the football culture here. So I did talk to a lot of parents along the way and got encouragement in certain ways, and in other ways they would say, you know, you really shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing that. So it's every day you're running for a re-election, and I always did that.
This is the first time you're on the opposition. How does that change things for you? Does it make you feel any different?
It has. My life used to be very, very, very busy. Now it's just very busy. But I had 3 pieces of my life. I was a minister, I was the MP, and I was a mom. And balancing those 3 for the last 7 years has been a challenge, no question about it. So now that one of them has gone away, the minister part, I have more time for both of them. So from the MP point of view, I get to do events that normally I wouldn't be around for, and I like that. I like going to the Mothers Against Drunk Driving opening of their week. I like going to the local events, Christmas parades. Those are fun. You get to go and see your neighbors, and I like that very much. And on the mom part, you know, my son is in grade 9 now, and it's important to be present when you have a high schooler. And I'm a lot more present in terms I understand what's going on in his schoolwork, and it's a good time for us, actually.
Now, I wouldn't be responsible without asking you this, but I have to address the elephant in the room. The rumor mill last month after you won was that you would be running for a Conservative leader. Is there any truth to this?
It starts with asking Milton if they see me in that bigger role. And, you know, they may not be the membership of the Conservative Party, but they're certainly voters. And it comes down to that. Can a person see you in that role? And if they can, how do you help the party get to a building point where you can be reelected again? I really do believe in our conservative values, and I want to see us come back to government. And I'm not so arrogant to assume that I'm the only one that can do that. But if I'm the best one to do that, then the membership will tell me that. So I'm going to continue to talk to lots of people. Focus on Milton, focus first on Ontario, because that's where we really didn't win in the last election, and see what people think.
Before you tackle that, you have a new role as finance critic. Tell me your decision to take on that role.
The leader, Ronna Ambrose, gave me a call a couple of days after she became the leader, and she said, "Where do you see yourself in the party in terms of critics' positions. And I said, you know what, Ronna, just put me wherever you think I can be helpful. I've got lots of different skill sets. I've run 3 departments. I've run a port. I've built an airport. So you put me wherever you want to go. I actually thought I was going to go back to transport, and I kind of had been watching what was happening on the transport file. She called me a week ago, and she said, we'd really like to take you into finance. And the reason being is that I do have, I used to have the responsibility of being responsible for the bottom line of a government enterprise, and that was the Toronto Port Authority. So I'm used to financial statements. I'm used to big decisions on pensions. I understand the importance of the workforce. And she said that she thought I could also vocalize something that's different for us, which is the typical family. You know, the mom and the kids and the hockey and the burden of taxes and difficulties in terms of making ends meet. Mr. Morneau comes from a very different background than I do. I grew up in Cape Breton, brought up by my grandparents, ended up going to school and lots of student loans. And Mr. Morneau was born into a more privileged life. So I may have a different perspective than he does, and we'll have some fun. He said the other day on TV that he expects it'll be fun to be working with me as critic, and I'll have some fun, but I'm going to hold his feet to the fire.
Thank you, Lisa, for meeting with me. I know it's been a long time since we got to sit down and have a talk about this. Back to the desk.